What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Funds on Fire. Now, this is a podcast where I'm going to break down the real truth about launching, managing, and scaling and raising capital for your investment funds. Now, if you're here, it means you're curious about how the biggest players in finance build generational wealth and, more importantly, how you can get in on the game. So let's be real, though. This isn't for everybody, and my goal for this is to help you all to understand that if this is for you, then tune in. We are going to be diving into the world of investment funds, talking about some of the largest investment fund managers in the world, my journey in on investment funds, and then even interviewing other fund managers, people who are running funds, raising capital, and scaling their business with one of the most lucrative vehicles in America to be able to build and scale a business. So today we're going to be talking about why the richest people in the world run investment funds. Like, why is it that this is the most lucrative business model in America, and why, honestly, most people shouldn't even try to start one? And so we'll also get into my personal journey just a little bit, and then the harsh realities of running a fund, and one of the biggest problems in finance, which is the disparity in access to capital and minorities and women. And so that's actually one of the biggest things that I'm most passionate about, is because like I want to be able to do what I call diversify Wall Street. That is probably the goal that I will spend the rest of my life pursuing, helping others to be able to scale, because not only are you going to be able to scale like at a massive level finances and make money for other people and leverage money, but you also get to scale impact in the world, make a real difference in the world. And so that's what I'm really excited about. And so welcome to Funds on Fire, the podcast that ignites the passion of investment funds and capital raising. Here we turn the complexities of fund management into clear, actionable steps that drive results. I've invested into diverse real estate across the United States and managed thriving funds, and I'm committed to transforming lives through the vehicle of investment funds and helping others to do the same. Join me as we document the journey of scaling businesses, raising capital, and impacting tens of thousands of people around the world. My name is Devin Robinson, and welcome to Funds on Fire. What exactly, honestly, is an investment fund? Simply put, it's a pool of capital raised from investors and managed by a fund manager to make investments, whether it's stocks or real estate, private equity, or hedge funds. Like, the beauty of it all is you can just leverage other people's money to build wealth and scale. And this is at a much different level. So there's a lot of times where people will use, like, I'm in the real estate world, and especially in single family world, we'll use smaller private lenders. This is at a massive scale. Take for example, Blackstone. Blackstone is the world's largest alternative asset manager. They manage over $1 trillion today. And I think BlackRock actually manages over $9 trillion. But they started small, just like everyone else. The secret to this is compounding capital, fees, and then leverage. This is one of my funnest things to do. And I actually really shock people when I talk about this. Who are some of the biggest fund managers in the game? So you've got Ken Griffin, who runs Citadel. It's a huge hedge fund. He manages about 62 billion assets under management. This guy took home, made $4.1 billion in a single year just from his firm's profits. And then you've got Steve Schwartzman, who I absolutely love. Like, I think you got to read the book, Whatever It Takes. That is literally the blueprint. He built one of the largest private equity firms, and they hold over $1 trillion in assets under management. And what's funny is actually Larry Fink used to work for him before they split, and Larry Fink started BlackRock, which is really interesting. So in 2022, Steve Schwartzman took home $1.2 billion. A lot of people in Charlotte, so I live in Charlotte, and everybody knows who David Tepper is, but a lot of people don't know how David Tepper started. And David Tepper is a hedge fund manager, got really popular, got really big, but he also bought the Carolina Panthers back in 2018 for, I believe it was $2.8 billion. You guys know how much David Tepper took home last year? $3.3 billion take home. So literally, David Tepper could buy the Carolina Panthers with his take home earnings. Insane. These guys aren't just playing the game, they created the playbook. And that's one of the reasons why I'm excited to dive into this more, so everybody can kind of expose Wall Street and realize that anybody can do this. It's not really for specific people that either grew up, their family, it comes from money. They went to work for like Goldman or Schwab or something like that, and then they started their own fund. There are a lot of people that do that, but then there's people like me who had no idea 4 years ago about anything with real estate, and now I run a fund, and starting other funds and raising more capital. Now I've partnered with my SEC attorney to help others to do the same. And so one of the cool things about this podcast is it's also going to be, I guess, sponsored by fund founders, which if you're serious about starting your own fund, you need the right guidance. And that's why I've partnered with my SEC attorney to create fund founders. And it's a program that literally helped and together jointly has helped hundreds of people start, manage, launch, raise capital for their funds. So like if you're interested at all in anything fund related, go to fundsonfire.com/founders and you could grab a free one-on-one course on how you can structure a fund, how you can raise capital, and then how you can stay compliant doing it. So fundsonfire.com/founders and you will get a free course on that. So please go ahead and grab that. Now, here's the thing with funds in general. Running a fund isn't all private jets and billion-dollar exits. It's tough. It's high stakes, and you have to make decisions people don't like. When you manage other people's money, you have a fiduciary responsibility, which means you put investors' interests first, even when it sucks. Absolutely sucks. Sometimes that means pulling out of a deal you love. Sometimes it means cutting people off. Sometimes it means making a call that will piss people off. And honestly, it's an emotional roller coaster. You face investor pressure, market downturns, tough pivots, and most people don't make it. In this journey, you have to make sure that you are prepped and ready for those downturns because I can tell you from experience, you cannot predict them. And it's hard when you have to go back and explain that to an investor on like, hey, I'm sorry, we just went through the worst real estate market in the past 30 years. And so I mean, like that's a real thing that I had to go through. And so then I have to structure it for my investors to make sure they don't lose money. And then I have to make sure I communicate with them. I'm very transparent with them. I'm also making sure that they know what their money is doing so that they don't feel like they're in the dark and that their money is gone with the wind, which could totally happen, especially if you're in the hedge fund game where where you got your money in the stock market. Much more difficult to make that back than rather it being in hard assets. But also, that's the game, right? Because you can get exponentially more wealthy in the stock market than with hard assets. So it's so different on what you guys decide that you want to do. It's important to know though that it can go bad fast. And you got to make sure that you're compliant, that you're above board, that you communicate, that you know what to do, and that you are prepared for it. Now, for me in my journey, I started in real estate. I learned the game. Actually, I started in other companies and as an entrepreneur and then dove into real estate and did a lot of single family stuff. And so that's what I mostly do is a lot of single family stuff. And then starting to get into the debt game, but starting to fund because I realized, wow, like it's amazing to be able to leverage other people's money, help them to grow and make a return on their money so that they're happy. And then also to be able to build generational wealth through assets I wouldn't normally be able to make. So I learned the game. I started to build on these deals and I saw firsthand how funds can create this massive generational wealth, but also how unprepared most people are for the grind. And that's why it's so important to have somebody to help walk you through it. And I've gone through the masterminds, Hunter Thompson and Bridger Pennington. I've gone through those and learned from them and they're incredible, but still nothing compares you for the real world application of it. And that's why I want to share a lot of my journey and all of that because that's what we go through. Now, one of the biggest things that really for me as a black man that grew up in LA, California, single mom, around gangs, around drugs, around this very systemic, oppressive life that I know very, very well, and then also have fostered and adopted children whose parents are currently stuck in that cycle, and I see it on the daily, and my children honestly have to live with the realities of that. One of the biggest things that I see is this massive disparity between access to capital, access to information and education in minorities and women in the United States. And so this is one of the biggest things that I'm most passionate about because I want to make sure that my kids and other people that wouldn't normally have the opportunity to be able to do this stuff can. So I like found this study by the Knight Foundation. They ran the study that said that $82 trillion is managed by funds in the United States currently, from hedge funds, private equity funds, real estate funds, whatever, venture capitalist funds. There's $82 trillion in assets under management currently in the United States, but only 1.4% of that is managed by minorities and women. That is insane. That's crazy. Think about that. 1.4% of $82 trillion. That means 98.6% of all investment capital is literally controlled by white men, by like that little segment of individuals, white men. And that's why I'm doing this. That's exactly why I'm doing this. Fund founders exist and Funds on Fire exists to level the playing field. Like if you're a minority, immigrant, or women, I want you to know that there is a way into this space, but you need the right tools. And that's what I want to help you to create here. Because I believe that the world equally distributes talent, but doesn't equally distribute opportunity. There's no reason that somebody that grows up in the hood or grows up in the slums or grows up somewhere that's just as smart as me, heck, most likely much smarter than me, but doesn't have access to capital, doesn't have access to the education, can't be able to be where I am and be able to raise capital, manage funds, and be able to scale to build wealth for them, for their community, to make actual impact in the world. That's why we exist. That's why this podcast exists. That is going to be my mission in life. That is why I'm actually in the process of writing a book about that, and I'm putting that in the universe so that I make sure it happens. Because let's be honest, the top fund managers that I just mentioned, all of them look the same. We need more diversity in fund management. And that's why I want to diversify Wall Street, not just for fairness, but because diverse perspectives lead to better investments and just lead to a better place in this world. So here's the deal. Investment funds are one of the best vehicles for creating generational wealth, but they're not for everyone. I want everybody to be able to have access to that. So that's why I've created this podcast so that you guys can know the journey, you guys can hear the journey, you guys can learn along the way. I've got a lot of things that's just going to help you to just learn about funds, about managing capital, about just the different types of funds, even fund managers. You're going to hear from them. You're going to hear from people who are just raising capital for their projects, either that's single family or multifamily or debt or oil and gas or whatever they're doing it for. You're going to hear about the different things and the different ways that you can impact the world. So I'm excited for you because you need to understand that while this opportunity is massive, the responsibility is bigger. And so I'm excited to share the journey. We're going to talk about automating and systematizing capital raising. We're going to talk about launching, managing, scaling investment funds. We're going to talk about compliance. We're going to talk about all those things so that my goal is that this becomes a one-stop shop for you to be able to enter into the world of investment funds, to be able to scale that, even scale just your business, even if you're just looking to raise capital for your business, all of those things. I want this to be a place that helps you to do that, that helps you to be able to live out your dreams and to be able to build generational wealth. And so thank you so much for tuning into Funds on Fire. Wow, I hope you enjoyed that. I have a quick favor. If you've been enjoying the show, there's one simple way you can support us, and it's by hitting that follow button or that subscribe button on the app you're listening to. I want to level this podcast up in every single way possible, bringing you more value, incredible content and guests, and new strategies. Following the show and leaving a quick review goes a really long way in helping us to grow and continue to deliver top-tier content. It's the only free thing I'll ever ask you to do, and it makes a bigger impact than I can possibly put into words. So thank you for being a part of this journey, and I'll definitely catch you on the next episode. To great success and greater impact. Peace.